Good morning and welcome to this Yin Yoga class. This class is good anytime you need to go inside, and it's particularly appropriate in winter, a time when all of nature is going inside. For this class, you'll need several props. You want to have 3 of something: bolsters, blocks, blankets. Let's get started with a little warm up, and then we'll move into our supported class. So lying down on your back. And take a moment to feel your connection to the earth. So much of nature is drawn back into the earth at this time. The leaves have fallen from the trees and are becoming mulch. The animals have burrowed into their holes or caves in the earth. The energy of plants is in the earth. So we're feeling our connection to the earth, and we're settling down. Noticing our body becoming more still. Notice how as the body becomes still, the breath becomes slower and deeper. And as we align with the earth, we can increase that connection, that synchronicity, by taking a 5 to 6 second breath count. If you can't do that length, just do whatever works for you, but we're working up to breathing in for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and breathing out for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See if you can do that. If not, whatever even count breath your body is capable of is perfect this morning. This 5-second breath aligns us to the harmonic resonance of the earth. The earth actually has a pulse. And this breath synchronizes the systems in our body. Let's roll the knees to face the ceiling and reach the arms up overhead. Take a deep breath and stretch the right side of the body. And soften. And inhale. Stretch the left side of the body. And soften. And inhale and stretch from heels to fingertips. And soften. And one more big stretch. Spread the fingers and toes wide. And soften into the floor. Let's do one last one. Big stretch. Flex the feet. Spread the fingers and toes. Reach And release. Let's bring the arms in, give yourself a hug with one leg. And stretch that one out. Give yourself a hug with the other leg. And stretch that one out. Bring the first leg in, give it a hug, and gently circle the knee and the hip joint. And reverse. And bring the other leg in and give that a hug and circle. And circle back the other way. And down. Let's bring the legs mat width apart. Reach your arms into goddess position and we'll lower the knees down to one side. And if you'd like a little more stretch, pick up your heel and place the heel on your knee. If you need to put a blanket under your opposite knee or a pillow, you can put one here or just let it do whatever it does. So here we are in our first holding. And if this is too intense, just both legs out. Deep breath into the stretch in the front of your thigh. In any of these poses, feel free at any time to unwind and then come back in if it's becoming too intense for you. These poses can become very intense. What we're doing is allowing the body to softly open. We're doing passive stretches. And we're not so much stretching the muscles as we are the fascia, the thin membrane that surrounds all of our muscles and organs and holds the body together. We'll hold most poses for 3 minutes. If your mind wanders, bring it back to the 5-count breath. Or if you're feeling sensation, you can definitely stay with the sensation in your body, breathing into the stretch and letting the body open with the breath and the awareness. As you hold the pose, you may notice shifts happening. Allow the body to move into the new spaces that you've created. And very slowly release your leg. Bring your legs back to vertical. Shift your pillow to your other side if you put a pillow under your knee. Lower your knees the other way. And again, you can stay here, or for more challenge, place your heel on top of your knee. Just a little bit of weight, opening you up. Arms in goddess position if that works for you. And let your weight sink into the floor. We're opening up the psoas muscle in the front of the thigh. This muscle is related to our stress response. So as we release the tension in our psoas, we're increasing our deep relaxation. Allow the mind to go deep into the sensations in the body. If you find your mind wandering off into story, anchor with the 5-count breath. Don't let the pulling action of the front of your thigh cause your lower back to arc. Allow the back to relax towards the floor at the same time. It may require bringing your knee up a little bit. Find the balance between the two. Notice how deeply nourishing this is for your body. Feel the stress unwinding, the body opening to softness. And let's gently release the foot if you had it on your knee. Very slowly bring your legs back up. Keeping your legs parallel, bring the knees in for a second. Rest your hands on your belly and take in that first stretch. Breathing for 5 counts in and 5 counts out. In a pose called Constructive Rest. So the toes are slightly inward, but the feet are apart, the knees are touching. You're welcome to shift your position to become more comfortable. While this is a practice of staying in the asanas for a long amount of time, it's not about rigidity, as always. So finding a little bit of movement, perhaps to become more comfortable, and then settling back into stillness. Slowly wiggle your fingers and toes. And stretch out your arms and your legs. And bring your legs in and give yourself another hug. We're going to roll over onto our stomachs for a Sphinx Pose variation. And you will want your blankets or props, whatever you're using for this. So if you think of Sphinx Pose, ordinarily Sphinx Pose looks like this, but we want it to be a supportive pose. So slide your bolster or blanket under your rib cage. So the sacrum and the belly are on the floor, but the rib cage is supported by your bolster or your blanket. And then you can bring your elbows into Sphinx Pose and support your forehead on your block. And I'll give you another option in a second. If you're using the block, you still want to maintain Sphinx, so be careful that it doesn't become a forward fold. Slide the shoulder blades down your back, and maybe you need to add something else, 2 blocks or something to make it high enough. Or you can let the head hang, but don't round the back. Or you can bring your elbows and support your forehead or your chin in your hands. I think forehead might be better. I think your neck is a little bit too arched here. So the forehead might be the best way if you don't want to use your block. So you're either in Sphinx like this, keeping the shoulder blades down and the chest broad, and this is perfectly acceptable, or using your elbows and your hands in your forehead, which helps to keep the shoulder blades down the back, but might feel like a little bit more work, might not feel as restful as using your block. And halfway through, you can always change if you like. So we'll hang out here for about 3 minutes. And I'm going to start with my block and see what happens. So there is just a little bit of work here, remembering to keep those shoulder blades sliding down your back and not rounding forward, but the head can come forward. You also feel free to adjust the bolster under your rib cage so that you can breathe comfortably. You should notice your breath deepening in this lung and rib cage opener. As we breathe more deeply into the bottom part of our lungs, we are again turning on our parasympathetic nervous system, our vagus nerve, our relaxation response. If you feel pressure on your knees, you can roll to the outside of your legs with the toes pointed inward. And very slowly lift your head, flex your feet, remove your block. Maybe you want to even push up into a child for a moment. We're going to come into a side stretch. So maintaining the one bolster, you're going to sit next to the bolster and lower yourself over the bolster. And then you might want a blanket for this one. I'm feeling like that would be a nice idea. You're always welcome to use a blanket in this class. So let's see what the legs are doing. So we're like the bolster's up against your side and the majority of it is at your rib cage. Then you're just taking a little nap. And this arm can come up overhead or you can rest it on your block. But if you can bring it overhead, that will increase the side stretch. Finding a way to rest it. Maybe interlacing your hands behind your head. And if you need to rest your head on the block because it's too intensive a stretch, you can do that. Or if you want more intensive a stretch, you can have your head on the floor or something lower. That's the lowest thing I have, so it's going to go for that. So we're opening up the side body here. And again, if you can, this arm is up overhead. But if eventually that doesn't work for you, you can rest it on your side. Again, you don't get quite the same stretch. So figure out what to do with this arm that works for you. Soften into the floor. And one more option, if your knees aren't comfortable, you can put a bolster between your knees if you don't like your knees touching. Again, we're opening up the lower ribs, particularly breathing deeply into the side and back and bottom of the rib cage. Allowing the nourishment of deep breathing, turning on our parasympathetic nervous system. And slowly come on up out of that. And we'll go to the other side. So switch around. So sitting side saddle, bringing your bolster to your side, and then a low pillow or whatever it is you'd like to use on that under your head. If you want to cover yourself up. If you need a blanket or pillow between your knees, have that. So we're going to bring our side ribs over the bolster and then find a way to support our head. Another possibility is just on your arm. Just do that. Or your little low pillow or blanket. Or your hands behind your head. Resting your arms that way. Take a moment to settle yourself and find how you want to be. And then close your eyes. Connect to your breath. 5 counts in. And 5 counts out. But I try modeling the other way, but I need the height. See what you need. When we're stressed, our breath is shallow. Our body armors itself. That means our fascia gets tight and rigid. And so we're allowing ourselves to open, to soften, to become vulnerable. And when we're vulnerable, we let things in, but it also means we let good things in as well as the possibility of being hurt. And as we deepen our connection to our inner strength through our yoga practice, we develop that sense of safety that allows us to open and be vulnerable with ourselves and with others, creating connection in the world. Again, be sensitive to any changes that are happening in your body and allow your body to move into the new spaces that are being created. And slowly bring your hands to the floor in front of you and come sit up. The next pose we're going to do is bridge pose. And there's several different ways to get into it. But the point of bridge pose, not the point of it, but you want to make sure that your upper back, your shoulder blades are on the floor, and then it's your lower body that's on your blocks or blankets or pillows. So you can set yourself up with a slightly longer base. Blanket handy if you like. And then you can just scoot yourself onto your little bed here, just making sure that your shoulder blades are off. So the upper part of your back, so just about the bra strap area, is where you would begin to feel the bolster underneath you. So scoot in just another inch. So take a moment to find your perfect bridge pose. So it's a very low bridge if you like. Doesn't have to be super high. If you want it higher, you can just add block under your hips, making it higher. Don't need the second bolster then. You want to cover yourself, you can. Whatever makes this pose makes you happy. So I've got the block and the bolster under my hips, and then my upper body is on the floor. Again, you can do goddess arms if you like, or arms at your sides if that's better for you. So we're opening the front of the body this time. So just be careful that you're not collapsing your chest. If you're collapsing your chest, you need to move your support closer up to your shoulders. You want to make sure you have enough support that your chest is lifted. So that we're opening the front of the body. Without doing anything, you might set the intention that with each breath, the front of your body expands. Continue counting your breaths if your mind wanders. From here, you can go right into an inversion. Just holding onto your legs. Or if this doesn't work for you, you can move over to a wall or find a table or chair and have your lower legs completely supported by the sofa or chair. So whatever way you'd like to do your supported inversion today. Inversions are very nourishing. They reverse the pull of gravity on the body. They bring more blood flow and oxygen into the face, the brain, the neck. They take stress off the heart because the heart pumps a great deal of blood upward into the head. Helps with varicose veins. Brings blood into your sexual organs and your organs of elimination. There's a reason that shoulder stand is called the queen of all poses. Slowly line back out of that pose. If you were against the wall, you can roll over to one side. If you're in the middle of the room, you can place your feet on the floor, take your block out and your bolster out, whatever you've been lying on. And then come back down. And we'll take a few breaths in Shavasana to equalize from our inversion. And you can have a blanket or bolster under your knees here. We'll do one more pose before we end in a final Shavasana. So once again, bring your feet to the floor and roll to one side. And we'll do a supported child pose. So grab everything you've got. You want to make a nice bed. And if child pose is hard for you, I'm going to put this pillow diagonally between my legs instead of square, so I can widen my knees comfortably. If child is hard for you, you can put something underneath your butt or not. And we're going to make a nice bed here, or you can put your bolster there. Make it as high as you like. Again, this might be a fun one to cover up. And then we're just going to lie down on your bed, supporting your head on your bolsters or your block, whatever you need to make this totally supported. And then instead of your head and forehead on the floor, your cheek is to one side, your elbows are on the floor on either side. Can you see that? And halfway through, we'll turn our head the other way. So this is a very nurturing pose. Kind of like hugging your teddy bear when you were little. It's a great pose for when you really need to feel safe and nurtured. We talked about vulnerability earlier. This is the opposite. This is comforting, like your mom holding you when you need to be taken care of, caressed, loved, supported. You're not armored. You're simply cradled. And turn your head the other way. You can stay in child pose till the end of class or unfold yourself and come into Shavasana. And if you'd like, again, a pillow under your knees, a blanket on top of you. If you need a little pillow under your head, please go ahead and do that as well. Let go of the counting breaths and allow the breath to move in its own natural rhythm. You can stay here as long as you like, but when you're ready, begin to bring some movement back into your fingers and toes. Gently move and stretch in whatever way feels good to you. When you're ready, roll to one side. Make a pillow with your arms. And come to a seated position. Bring the hands together at your heart and bow your head. You are the light of the world. Honor that light in you and honor that light in all you meet. Namaste.